Welcome everyone to Autogefühl, your number one resource for in-depth car reviews and your number one community to discuss cars with Thomas. And today with a car you actually wanted us to review, and of course we are trying to fulfill all your wishes. It's not always possible, but we're keeping very hard on doing that. So today the Peugeot RCZ-R, the top version here, 270 horsepower just via the front axle from a 1.6 liter engine, and we're going to find out if this one will actually work, and we'll also draw a comparison to the Audi TT, because you've always seen from the basic outline this is the main competitor. These two cars look so special, and well, they're both kind of a little bit the same from the outside, from the basic principles, and also price-wise and horsepower-wise. The RCZ-R sits between the Audi TT and the Audi TTS, so it's actually a clever positioning. This car here in Germany, for example, 42,000 euros. And if you just pick the GT line, not with the strong engine, but just with the exterior and interior features, you are at 35,000 euros. And if you even go below with the standard RCZ, then you have 29,000 euros and this 155 horsepower entry version. But today it's all about the top version. So let's start with our performance review here. So in the front, let's check the design. We not only have the R logo, also in general a stronger front as we use from sports versions, also a stronger lower bumper. The whole car sits 10 millimeters lower from the suspension and is also stiffer in suspension wise. That will give us a sportier feeling on the road. More to that one later when we drive the car. And we got xenon headlights here. So in general, well, already the normal RCZ looks quite fancy from the front, but this one is even a little bit stronger, although you see it's not really exaggerated for a sports version. The side profile, that's really interesting because it's really so special in this silhouette. Really love it. But let's start with the alloys. 19-inch you get with the RCZ-R version, with this top sports version. Well, the tires a little bit protecting it because a little bit overlapping. We have talked about that subject quite some times, but still, you will damage them quite easily. I can promise you. That's actually one negative aspect. Then here in that version we also got a carbon roof here. Usually it is all in black here. I think it's more beautiful when it's all in black. This carbon style is this racing style, yes, but however I would prefer it just as in a normal version, that we have the plain glass roof. And you see what's also more special than with the Audi TT is that this glass roof has a curve inside, and that's really not that easy to produce, and it's this very unique feature of the RCZ-R. I'm not sure about this design line going up here. I would have maybe just put it right straight on, but in general I think it's a real beauty. Strong shoulders here as well, and the RCZ-R version also has a quite a big fixed wing. That is also a main differentiation to the normal models we see in the side profile. The total length is 4 meters 28, so actually not that long, and so the car will also remain quite agile and has also a small turning circle. I'll show you later also when we drive the car. And also the weight is kept quite low, 1,355 kilograms, so we can expect a good handling with that car later on. Now let's check out the rear. You see the fixed wing here again, and the lower part is of course different here in the R version, black diffuser kind of style with two huge exhaust pipes, and we soon also hear what kind of sound is coming from that one. You see a very strong rear part, and it's actually a solution where you don't have to pay so much money for a super sports car, but already got the kind of look of a super sports car. And one of the surprises of the car already right now, because the trunk is actually huge for a sports car. You see you have a lot of space, and also the possibility to put stuff in here is fairly good and easy. I think this is really what makes the car also suitable for everyday driving, for your groceries and something like that. Let's check out what's below here. Actually some more space. You see no replacement tire, but the compressor to repair the tire, just to show you that. And there's also another special thing, because with this one here, it's also possible to flip the rear bench that way, and it needs the front seat to be in the front. So when I put it more on the front here electronically, you see then it also works that the rear bench is flipped almost completely. And I mean, again, for a sports car, this is really a fairly good use, I must say. Inside, door handles not too solid. You know, we always like to compare door handles, and well, that doesn't make such a good impression. But let's get inside. Real sporty interior, and we got a lot of features coming serial now with this more expensive version, and that is, for example, contrast stitches on the inside of the steering wheel and everywhere on the seats and the dashboard. No matter where you look, you got this very beautiful red contrast stitches, a very great styling. These full leather seats are optional. I would not recommend them because just on purpose for the RCZ-R, they are special R Sport seats, and they have some special form, so they're really different, and also a lot of Alcantara parts. I've tested them earlier and I really love the seats, and they are more comfortable than any other seat available. So I'm also not quite sure why this test vehicle has these seats, because they are not so special then for the RCZ-R. So go for the other ones you get from the serial equipment and don't buy them extra. The steering wheel, you see, there's nothing on the steering wheel, and that is also, for example, known from a lot of Porsche cars, that the steering wheel is kept tidy to stress this sporty atmosphere in the cockpit, and every other control is hidden somewhere else. I think in this case for a racing car also some kind of a clever feature. What else do you get included? 2-zone climate control, air conditioning, that's also included already. A parking ad, a basic parking ad, that is also included here. And a 7-inch screen is also included, and when you turn on the ignition, it flips up automatically. It's a very special solution, I must say. This is also a button that you can put it up and out again anytime you want, and at the other side you can change the angle actually a little bit, maybe when the sun is coming in there and you cannot really properly read it, so you have a possibility of adjustment. What else is special? We got an analog clock here in the center that is also very beautiful done with the vents and the contrast stitches. I like this part actually. However, the part below I don't really fancy it. This is actually the control of the multimedia system. And I must admit, the multimedia system is not really up to date. The controls are really complicated, also not good from the styling. And for example, I had some problems to connect the iPhone. It really took a long time to connect the Bluetooth then it failed again and so on. And also when you try to call someone, it really takes time to get used to it. So it's not that kind of intuitive system where you sit down and everything is kind of sorted. You really have to get to know it. And I still didn't find the function for the audio streaming via Bluetooth. If you own this car here, please write me in the comments if that's possible. I tried everything. I can just connect USB stick for music, but it didn't play the sound via Bluetooth from the mobile phone. Tried everything and also read the manual. There's actually no possibility I could find yet. So if you know that one, please leave a comment then. That would be really interesting then. And what else is included? Also a cruise control. It's on the left part of the steering wheel, and then that's it kind of from the serial equipment. The rest you have to buy extra then. And so we can check out the details. For example, also the storage space. We just got a normal glove box here, sliding down quite slow, pretty much standard. At the inside of the doors, it's actually not too much space left there, so you can put huge water bottles in there. Then, for example, if we go back to the middle console again, some space for your mobile phone could be right here, in the front here. Then in this middle you got a 12-volt supply, some badge, and this control here is, I'm not sure, well, it's shown in a single screen some very useless functions. I'm not sure why they should build that one, really strange. And then this middle armrest here, some space, and the USB port is hidden in there. And there you see here, for example, that the basic quality of the car is not matching other competitors. That's, I think, quite upset. And also the armrest here, a very strange system, and especially when you look inside here, what kind of stuff is used here. Well, there are some surprises with this car where you think, why have they built it that way? And you cannot really find an answer to that. But in general, I think the cockpit is quite appealing still, especially with the sporty steering wheel with the flattened end. And now let's take a look at the instruments. Before we get to the instruments, I wanted to show you one more thing. This is actually quite beautiful, just visually, but then listen to it. And there you see the build quality is not on the top level. Then check the instrument. I think they are quite of classy analog style and well, kind of a good overview. But then the digital instrument in the middle, well, that's actually quite old school. You see the consumption here is 8.9 liters. That is because we did some performance shots. You can usually, if you don't play around with the car like we did for the camera, get to some 8 liters on 1 kilometer. That is quite okay because the official figure is 6.3 liters, 2 liters above. That's kind of normal, but just so you know it. And then the columns here also look quite of basic. This is here the control for the cruise control, and you can also adjust the steering wheel up and down, and also down, out and further, and so everyone can find a special position. And now I remove my feet so we can check out the lower part. It's also special for the R version. You got this aluminum pedals, and we do expect that from a sporty car. So what's your opinion here on the interior? Before we get to the engine, I show you the emergency seats. You can flip the seat and then electronically move into the front. So well, I cannot get in there, but maybe if someone is smaller and just for a short trip, maybe to the train station, then you at least have the possibility to transport someone. I think that's good, also an advantage in comparison to other pure two-seaters. And I've shown you, you can also flip the seats, then you have more trunk space. So actually it's quite nice to have them, but don't expect a long trip with it. Let's take a look at the engine. So it's at 1.6 liters of displacement. That's basically the same for the RCZ in general, and the R version has 270 horsepower, so really tuned until the end. I'm not exactly sure if that's good to get so many horsepower from such a small displacement engine. Not really a fan of it, but the performance is quite good, 5.9 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers. And so we will also test that one now. All right, everyone, this is also a performance review. 270 horsepower, 0 to 100 kilometers, 0 to 60 miles an hour in 5.9 seconds. And I would say, let's go. Acceleration. Now we're really testing the suspension. Pushing me a little bit to the outside here, but in general, a good balance I'm feeling already right now. Manual transmission for real sporty stuff. Oh, when we're going over the bumps, it's really rough. So the suspension is stiff, yes, but you know, there are also stiff suspensions that even out the surface a little bit. This one is really rough, I can promise you. So you need to be a friend of this very sporty suspensions. We're gonna overtake someone here. Let's try that back to the second gear. And let's go. Wow. Yeah, very good actually. So you know, it's not that super high intensive sports car. Also not for such much money actually, but still very good performance, and even just over the front axle, and that's actually quite astonishing. We don't have the all-wheel drive here, but still a very good performance, I must say. Also the steering is quite direct, no problems with that one. And you see the steering wheel, explained to you in the interior review. Steering wheel is kept all the way clean, so you don't have any distraction while driving in. That's also very necessary here. Actually, the car also performed on the Nürburgring Nordschleife and made a very good lap time there, so that was also quite impressive and proved my point here that the performance is very good for the car. Let's see, a bit steeper here. Really a lot of fun to drive it. Also the sound is quite nice, although it's actually not too exaggerated, I must say. Don't hear too much actually, also not from the outside. So it's actually quite okay still when you're going through the city and you don't arouse too much attention. But I can really tell you it is a lot of fun to drive the car. Also the seats give me enough of side support, that's pretty much fine. Let's now test the turning circle. Actually that's very small, no problem at all, because we also don't have such a long wheelbase. Yeah, so that's pretty much fine, I guess. And as I said, got the front wheel drive, no all-wheel drive, and the engine is also in the front, so you're actually gluing to the road there in the front then. But no matter how hard I press the issue, actually it's not that I slide out in the rear, so that's also fine. You don't have to be a race driver to control this car here. Let me conclude about the Peugeot RCZ-R. I think it's a very beautiful car from the outside, however it is quite polarizing because some people, I think it's more like a love or hate car. But I also like the Audi TT design, so I also fancy that one because they're both kind of that unique in general on the market and offer this very special design. This one here again, very fancy with this waving glass roof on the lower part. The R version in general showed really a good performance. It's also a very good driving car. It had a lot of fun driving it actually, but the build quality cannot keep up the same quality than with the competitors. You have to be sure about that. However, the price I think is quite attractive still, and well, usually you also get more discount at the Peugeot dealer than you get with some other manufacturers, so you can maybe make a good deal with that. Then 270 horsepower just in the front axle. It can also be just less. So maybe the best price performance deal if you go for this new GT line version, then you already got the styling elements on the outside and on the inside, but you don't have such a powerful engine, which you usually don't need. If you have the basic RCZ engine, there are two available as far as I know. It's also quite fine, you still got a very fun car. What was surprising is we got a lot of space in the trunk, so you can actually use this car not only as a secondary car, but also as a car in general for your everyday driving, as long as you're just with two adults. Maybe some small kids will fit on the emergency seat, but then people already with 170 in the height get problems there because of the glass roof already, so no headspace left then for them. So really just emergency seats there in this case. So that is my conclusion. I want to hear your comments about this car, and also if you liked it that we picked the car after you asked us to do so. And I hope to see you at the next Autogefühl episode with Thomas. I'm really looking forward to every new episode with you together. Thanks.